What's going on, squids? It's Hank here from Nintendome, back with another Splatoon video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the latest Nintendo update for Splatoon, the 2.6.0 patch. I'm going to focus specifically on the 3 abilities that I believe have received the most interesting updates from Nintendo this time around. These 3 abilities are Last Ditch Effort, Comeback, and Haunt. If you want to learn about the other changes, check out my handy squid science video where I show off all of the updated abilities and compare them to their pre-patch counterparts. For these other abilities, I simply do not have much to say. They either received slight efficiency boosts, which are nice but will not dramatically influence my gear kits, or they received buffs that I simply do not find particularly noteworthy. So let's start off with Last Ditch Effort. This ability got a huge buff in the update. In addition to now giving you a quick respawn buff, Last Ditch Effort can now activate in overtime, which is really something it should have been able to do from the beginning. However, the most important aspect of this new update is Last Ditch Effort's new parameter that allows it to activate when your opponent's splat zone, tower control, or rainmaker counter reaches 30. From this point on, you will receive the Last Ditch Effort buffs for the rest of the game. Yes, even if you recapture the zone, take control of the tower, or reset the rainmaker, the Last Ditch Effort will still be active for you. This is huge! Last Ditch Effort suddenly becomes an ability that will only work for you in situations where you are losing, which is pretty much when you would need it, and not when you were already winning, where you would need it much less because you were already winning. Now, with all of this in mind, it is important to remember what Last Ditch Effort actually does when it is active. This ability will boost your ink recovery rate, your ink efficiency rate, and it will now also reduce the amount of time you need to respawn after being splatted. Honestly, remembering this was kind of a downer for me. These boosts are by no means useless, but they're definitely more geared towards specific weapons. Last Ditch Effort is an ability that I can see being viable, yes, viable, with weapons like the 96 Gal Deco or even the Dynamo Roller. Out of all of the abilities in the 2.6.0 update, I definitely think Last Ditch Effort got the biggest buff. Comeback is an ability that I think has always been underrated in Splatoon. Despite being a great ability to many people like me, Nintendo made Comeback even better by giving it a special charge-up buff while active. Now keep in mind that both Comeback and Last Ditch Effort are headgear exclusive, so they're in direct competition with each other. I suspect that part of the reason Nintendo pushed this buff is because they did not want Comeback to be overshadowed by abilities like Last Ditch Effort. They definitely did a great job. Comeback already would have been usable without the buff, as it will boost your ink efficiency, ink recovery, and movement speed for 20 seconds after respawning. By giving you a special charge-up boost as well, Comeback allows you to quickly mitigate one of the worst aspects of getting splatted in Splatoon, losing part of your special gauge. Although Comeback has a much wider range of buffs than Last Ditch Effort, its activation requirement is also a bit worse in my opinion, as the 20-second timer after respawning limits your ability to fully take advantage of all of these buffs. In general, I think Comeback's viability is definitely contingent on the map and mode combination. For smaller maps like Blackbelly Skate Park, where you can instantly get right back into the action, I can definitely see Comeback being used over Last Ditch Effort. A lot of people seem to be pretty confused about the Haunt ability, so let me clear something up. You're the person that receives the damage up, defense up, and movement buffs, not your opponent. You'll receive these buffs when your opposing team is tracking you with an echolocator, a point sensor, or their own Haunt ability. Nintendo's reasoning for this is pretty transparent. Like Cold-Blooded, Haunt is a chess piece exclusive ability, so the two are in direct competition with each other in a dynamic that is similar to what I mentioned earlier with Last Ditch Effort and Comeback. However, people have largely considered Cold-Blooded superior to Haunt because being able to track your opponent is just so strong in a shooter like Splatoon. So Nintendo's updates to Haunt hopes to make it competitively viable by punishing this location in a different way. With all this being said, I still do not like this ability. Damage up and defense up are abilities that are useful situationally, and more often than not, the advantages of the Haunt buffs simply do not outweigh the disadvantages of being tracked by your opponents. If you have a weapon that needs damage up or defense up, you really should be incorporating that into your main ability kit, regardless. Now, this all ignores the fact that Haunt's main ability, tracking opponents that have splatted you, is quite viable in its own right. However, Cold-Blooded was able to outclass this aspect of Haunt before the 2.6.0 update, and Nintendo's recent buff has not been able to change that. And those are my thoughts on the 3 main buffs of the 2.6.0 update. Keep in mind that many people will likely stick to the same ability sets they've been using up until this point. That is perfectly okay. However, I hope this video has encouraged you to give some new abilities a chance. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking for more Splatoon and other Nintendo content. That's all for now, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.